African Pilot Magazine is super excited to be here in Kigali at the African Aviation Summit. I'm here at the AFRAA stand and I'm joined by Maureen and the Secretary General. All right, so what does the association do? What is your role?
The African Airlines Association in principle is the voice of African Airlines. Our main mandate is to champion the interests of African Airlines, to promote their interests and to make sure that the operating environment in Africa is conducive for airlines to thrive.
Do you have an association with like an IATA or a ICAO? Other organizations, is there?
There is a collaboration with the mutual objectives for these other organizations. When it comes to Africa, AFRAA is the lead airline association for airlines. And because we have so many mutually aligned initiatives, we work very closely with ICAO, we work closely with IATA, AFCAC, and the other regional organizations to promote common interests. For example, when it comes to issues such as safety, security, liberalization of African skies, taxes and charges, we make sure we join our effort because collaboration is the best way we can achieve the mutual interests for our members.
In your view, what do you think the top 5 or maybe there are more challenges that our airlines are facing?
You know, we have a strategic plan and we have also 5 strategic objectives which are aligned with the expectations of our members and our mandate. The first of them is security and safety. We want to keep a good level of security and improve the level of security and safety across the continent for our members. The second is also to improve the visibility of our member airlines. And the third one is to call for cooperation between our member airlines. And the fourth one is sustainability of African airlines, meaning economy, social and environmental sustainability. And the last one is to become a hub for data and statistics for our members. So we have a 5-year strategic plan and we are working under these 5 strategic objectives. And we have also some projects aligned with these objectives.
And would you say that the safety, security, obviously bilateral air service agreements, those are all challenges for the airlines?
When it comes to challenges facing airlines, as mentioned on the key pillars, they're vast. And the key priorities that we have for the year that are aligned with the challenges being faced, number 1 is safety. We need to promote safety to ensure that airlines are safe to operate. And aligned to this, we have the AFRAA and Flight Safety Foundation Safety Summit. We also have the AFRAA Safety Group, which encompasses across all stakeholders representation to ensure that we are driving that safety objective. Then we have the other issue he talked about on sustainability, which is focusing on 3 areas. The first one is on economic financial sustainability. So we have challenges facing airlines such as high taxes and charges. And in Africa, this is the region with the highest cost per mile for ticket fares, whereas we are the continent with the lowest GDP per capita. So to ensure that we keep abreast with what is happening, we do a survey of the industry. We have released this year, in the month of August, the study of the performance of 2024, where we have ranked the top 10 countries that are most expensive and the countries that are doing very well. So we want to ensure that governments, stakeholders are aware of this, because if we can make the ticket fares affordable, then we can have development of air transport. People can be able to afford more tickets and airlines can get more passengers. So taxes and charges is a major challenge facing our member airlines, which we are really pushing forward. And we do that through advocacy and in instances where we need to engage the authorities, we ensure we, as much as possible, jointly engage with our partner organizations.
The stakeholder mapping to kind of deal with, let's say, blocked funds and the cost of fuel, which is, I believe, more expensive here in Africa than anywhere else in the world, as well as the taxes and the charges by government. I think that stakeholder relationship is quite hard to manage, and also when governments change, it also becomes a problem. How are you finding it? Are you making progress? Are we seeing some things change?
It takes time because you need to convince the leaders that we need to reduce those taxes and charges. And sometimes they ask because they're looking at it as a revenue source, because they're looking, if you reduce the taxes, there will be reduced revenues. But our position is that if you have more traffic, therefore the more volumes, then you shall have more revenues. We give the example of we had a laboratory that hosted by AFRAA. We brought together all stakeholders. And we gave the example of the telephone industry, where in the East African region, they made it to be like a regional telephone operations. And the cost of calls was reduced for the Eastern African region. And we saw an increase, a big increase in the number of calls, such that the revenues that were realized after were so much higher than earlier. So that is like a use case that we used to convince governments, because if you have more traffic, then you even have more passengers coming in, reduced visa, cost of visa, even ease of getting access. So the challenges are really interlinked, and if we can address all of this piecemeal, at the end of the day, we have more traffic, more tourism. Yes. And within the continent, it's more connected, because sometimes you realize that traveling from one country to another within the continent is so difficult. It's much easier to use a hub outside or to use a longer route. So if we can make it easier to travel within the continent, we really grow the industry.
The agenda for the rest of the year, what's on the agenda?
We have our General Assembly in Luanda, and we'll have our member airlines at top level, CEO, C-level attending. We expect to receive 600 delegates to this event. Next year, our event will have our convention and safety summit in Johannesburg. We are also preparing an event on MRO. Yes. Because MRO aspect is very important for Africa. MRO costs for African airlines very high currently. So we are working on it with 5 major member airlines. So we hope to have the first MRO Africa in 2026 by AFRAA. Maybe in March. We'll make an announcement as soon as possible.
If I can ask, based on the report that you've just put out, and I'm assuming the report is available on your website, what is the best performing, what is the worst performing?
Generally, the sub-regions are the ones we can regroup. So the Western and Central African region is where you find the highest taxes and charges. And then Eastern Africa is fairly moderate. And then in Northern Africa is much lower, as well, even South Africa. But the highest region is Central and Western Africa.
Do you think that kind of relates to the political landscape?
Causes for the taxes and charges will be, I think it's more of a country-specific situation. We can deal it on a case-to-case basis. And what we've seen, what is encouraging is the ECOWAS region. They took this as a call to action, and they did some workshops last year at state level, because they wanted to reduce those taxes and charges, and the decision was made at the ECOWAS level, and they involved AFRAA in those various engagements, and they have in place a sort of like a committee that will sit through to see how to implement that. So we are, as AFRAA, looking forward to the realization of this commitment, because it will be a huge game changer to the industry, noting that ECOWAS is one of the regions with the highest taxes and charges. Because even when we had our laboratory, the one I mentioned earlier, we had a roadmap and specific actions. And we're looking at the regional economic communities where we can use as pilots, so that these regional economic communities can start working as a domestic. So if we have the ECOWAS as a domestic, the EAC as a domestic, the SADC as a domestic, then after we do domestic, then we go continental. we were targeting EAC and COMESA because they looked more aligned, because already they had initiatives in place collaboratively on driving forward. But the problem is the will that to see through to the fruition of these initiatives, because ECOWAS has come forth with this initiative to alleviate the taxes and charges. But to take you back to the earlier question on why the high costs, and since I mentioned it is on a country-specific base, because you find that some countries, the airport has got very limited capacity, and you need certain numbers for it to make business sense, to have a certain level of charges, revenue. So you find some airports have got very light traffic. So some of those airports you find it's really not really developed. So that's why we're calling upon governments to invest in infrastructure. And at times we see airports where they have invested in very good facilities, but now that bill, who is going to pay the bill? It really it's important to have it as a long term, to avoid having to put very high taxes to recuperate the cost of those infrastructure developments.
Does AFRAA also work with the airlines in terms of like that air cargo and the belly freight, and like could some of that air freight, should we call it air freight logistics, like the physical infrastructure, which would be beneficial for a country, it would also assist the airline in terms of, you know, additional cargo to move. Would that not be an interesting business case in terms of looking at reducing some of that cost?
Yes, regarding cargo, we have a route network coordination and cargo committee, and we call our members to cooperate in terms of cargo. We are not really involved in infrastructure, logistic of cargo. I think your question is about...
Well, it was a kind of a mix because for, I think the reasons that we're not seeing that increase in air cargo is because there is limited infrastructure to support it. However, there is a financial benefit to the airline.
Talk about infrastructure development. If you look at my remarks yesterday morning, I also talked about it, and I said that this new infrastructure development should be aligned with the need for environmental sustainability and also cargo development and tourism infrastructure. So we call upon government, of course, to upgrade the existing airport or to build new airport, and taking into consideration also the cargo business, because we know that in Africa, cargo will be growing in the future.
So all these initiatives to ensure a sustainable air transport industry in Africa can be achieved only if we have that collaborative approach. And as AFRAA, since one of our mandates is on collaboration, we really encourage our various stakeholders to work with AFRAA on our initiatives and to also collaborate amongst ourselves to achieve the better skies for Africa.